Hello and welcome back to the Artist Forge Live. It's the first Monday of the month and we are together again. My name is Nicole York. I will be your host and I am joined by the lovely Becca Bjorky and the wonderful Matt Stagliano. Hi, y'all.
Hey, what's happening?
We already have friends joining us this morning. Hi, David. So glad to see you.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. Hope everybody was good. Friends in the comments and friends in the audience. How was your weekend? We are dying to know. It sounds like everybody had a little bit of socializing.
Little bit. I gave myself a terrible haircut. And this is what you get when you don't have a mirror or skills or anything. Just happens.
I mean, that's pretty impressive for having nothing.
Right? So I am just one big bundle of talent, really, is what it comes down to, Becca. But no, weekend was good. Bars, pictures, sunshine, mountain bikes. Pretty good weekend.
Oh, sunshine. It was cloudy here this morning, and we both kind of woke up and you'd think we'd get enough sun here in New Mexico where the few cloudy days that show up, you'd be like, no big deal. It's nice and cozy. And we were both like, give it back. Where'd it go? Crystal's here with us this afternoon. Hello, Crystal. So glad you are here today. So, I don't know about you all, but I am absolutely on the downhill side of my productivity sphere for anything that's not related to my big project. So the way that my brain seems to function is I can hyperfixate on one thing at a time and everything else just kind of falls to the wayside. And if I try to split my concentration between the big thing that I'm doing and all of the other side stuff I have to do, all the other side stuff kind of becomes shit. I know in my head how to split my day up, and I can go ahead and make myself blocks, which is what I do. But when I have a big thing to get done, those blocks seem less and less effective in my ability to transfer my brain between I need to write 4,000 words today brain and how do I sell my book brain. Just completely, it's like somebody popped a balloon and that's my head. So I don't know if I'm the only one that does that, but whatever big project I'm working on gets all of my focus and attention. And I can even get some focus on kind of the satellite things that are related to that particular project. But all of the other stuff ceases to exist for me unless I have a reminder. And even then, getting my brain to switch focus successfully is nearly impossible.
It's a little bit of the opposite for me, right? So I wake up every morning with that big project ready to go, right here, front and center, time blocks, everything. 9:01, fuck it, out the window, done. Side emergencies, little tasks, everything comes in. I'm like, all right, let me just get these things done and I'll get back to the big project. Nope. Side, gut punch, whole thing. And then it winds up being 3 p.m. Then I've got nothing done on the big project. So I say, okay, I'm going to schedule my time better. Tomorrow, let me write this down. It's going to be one big time block for big project number 1. Not going to work out that way. So I'm struggling in the same thing. The little tasks for me get the attention because it's something that needs to be addressed right away. A lot of times, people will say, you can put that aside or respond later. For some things, you need to respond right away. So because it's an always on type of connection for me, I have no problem setting the boundaries with people, but all these little tasks, the things that need to keep moving that only I, since it's only me, can take care of, I'm constantly sacrificing the big picture, which is why I wind up in the mess that I'm in, because I'm never really moving forward. I'm just running on this treadmill of tasks.
Do you really need to respond to things right away? Do you?
Certain things, not everything. I have my email monitored most of the day and text, and it's almost always on do not disturb. But there are things like I was explaining hey, listeners, I was explaining earlier my hair and makeup artist broke her leg. So I'm kind of scrambling to find somebody. So anything that comes in, I've got to be on top of that. And it just drags you away. Becca, that's one example. 99% of the stuff that I deal with could absolutely be delayed. I just don't let myself do it. And I get sucked down the rabbit hole. But Nicole, I wish I could focus on the big picture and let everything go to the side. I really do. Teach me.
It's not even so much the big picture. And I think that's part of the problem with it. Number one, I totally get where you're coming from, in part because getting those small tasks done feels like you're still doing stuff. So it's small things you can accomplish. And you're like, I did a thing. And it didn't take too long. And you still feel like you're being productive. Side quests are like great that way. But it's not so much the big picture, it's the project. So like I gave myself, okay, let me break it down for myself and for everybody here. We'll see if it works. The idea is to be an author, make my living as an author. You know, my big goal is to make $100,000 a year, so that I can support my family, so that my husband can pick a job that he wants and not a job he feels like he needs to take, right? Even though he likes what he's doing, that's not the point. We also need to move home because that's where all my peoples are at, even though I'm going to miss the sunshine. But anyway, to be an author full-time and then do my art as I want, as I please for myself. Okay. That's the big picture. One of the steps to getting there for me is having a big enough backlist of books that people can read one book, get sucked into the series, and then read everything else. Because that's how most authors make their money, is through their backlist. And then you put out new books as ways to get people into your backlist. I don't have enough books yet to make my living if I'm not reaching like a bazillion people. So I need to put out more books. The fastest way to do that is to write a series. And the fastest way for me to write a series is about a book a month. That's about as quick as I can go. That's drafting. Okay. That's not revisions and everything else. So I gave myself the project because I want a 5-year cap. Like, I don't want to be still trying to make that 100,000 at 65. I want to be, by the time I'm 45, I turn 40 in a couple months. By the time I'm 45, I want it. I want to have it. I want lots of time left over to like play with my money, right? So I want to write books quickly. I have a series I'm working on. There's 6 books total. I wrote the first book already last November. I wrote that one in a month. It was my proving ground. So now I know I can do it. So this series is a big project. It's not the whole thing, right? Like, it's not the big picture. It's just like a big pillar project to help the big picture do a thing. And while I'm doing that, I've essentially told myself, I've kind of set parameters for myself. Like, this is the thing you need to focus on, which somehow means in my brain, nothing else is important. So like, even though it is, I still need to be marketing. I still need to be talking to potential clients. I have a couple small commissions I've taken just to kind of keep some money flowing in until my husband's next, hopefully, job kicks in and we're not living off of our savings. But like, so it isn't the big picture as a whole that I'm focusing on. It's like the one thing that I've told myself must be like to the end all be all of blah, 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 and then everything else craps away. So I don't know that it's the big picture. It's just that particular thing. Claudia is also with us today. Hi, Claudia. I'm asking the question of y'all, if anybody else is like me, where when you have a big project that you have to get done, your brain can't switch between big project mode and all of the other stuff you need to keep doing to run your business. Matt saying he gets pulled away by all the little things. And I'm now wondering, Becca, for you, like, how do you experience?
I definitely also obsess and hyperfocus 100%. And the thing for me is that I need to have adequate time to let myself do that. And like, if I have a big enough time block, you know, or enough an afternoon or an evening or whatever it is to let myself just be obsessive until I'm burnt out, that kind of helps shift me out of that. If I then have other time to shift into a deep focus kind of state on whatever other tasks need to be done. So like, I shared my kind of like drafty schedules in the group already. And I feel like when like looking at them, there isn't actually a lot there. Like, it's like, oh, I'm not doing 50 things in a day. I'm doing 5 things in a day or 3 things in a day. But only doing those couple things allows me to get into that hyper-focused state, which with my my precious here, you know, that's been a struggle for me, is having to stop and shift focused, and then not being able to actually give any one thing my full attention, and not being able to be at my best in any capacity, whether that's on a singular project or needing to write coherent emails that sound like a, you know, professional adult wrote them, or being able to cook dinner well, or like play a video game, like whatever it is. I need adequate time to get into that flow state. So when it comes to divvying up those like 800 tasks that I have to focus on to be a business person, I have to break them into large chunks, or else small chunks is not going to work and nothing is going to get done well.
That's definitely been my experience. Everything, like I can do everything, it'll all be done like shit. I can do one or two things really good. And then once that's done, I can shut that part of my brain off and go to focus on the other thing. But as long as the big thing is still there, everything else gets done like poo. David's saying, I have the attention span of a squirrel. I get obsessed with projects, but I'm so bad at following through. I want to do new things all the time. Chasing that dopamine, man.
Yeah, and I think for me, you know, Kat would be all over me at this point about time management and whatnot. I think I have a hard time differentiating the big project and the priority of it, right? Because to me, everything's a big project. I look at the world like a Gantt chart, and everything is connected, right? And everything's overlapping, and I might as well just get started on this because it ties into this thing up here. And I never really bring myself back to completing that one thing. I'm Mr. 85%, right? So I've got campaigns that I want to launch, just about there, just need to film a video, can never get it done, right? I've got email sequences that need to go out. I've got them all written, got to put them into Flowdesk and click done. Nope, can't get that done, right? All these big things that I know will create stuff for the business, I just can't seem to get there. And it's not a fear block. It's just, you know, I got to do these damn webinars and stuff middle of the afternoon. I'm kidding, totally, completely. But yeah, it's just I get pulled away and can never really just reach that finish line, just that little bit more.
So would it be possible for you guys, I mean, just given everyone's got their own different like structure, I guess, but like Nicole, with your writing, could you theoretically, I mean, would you be able to be like, on Wednesday, I'm not going to write shit. I'm not allowed to. I cannot write. I have to do other things, and force yourself not to.
So yes, and then I'll actually touch on what our friend in Facebook land said. If you
That's
want
Bobby.
us to know, is who?
Bobby.
Bobby. Hi, Bobby. Remember, if you want us to know who you are when you share a comment on Facebook, StreamYard requires you to give them permission. But so Bobby's saying, after years of rescue work, you developed skills in prioritization and triage. Turned out to be helpful when I started freelancing. And so that's the thing is, it's not a question of prioritization. That's part of the issue. If I were to have a project that had an unlimited time frame, I could absolutely say, you know, this, and that's one of the things that I did before. Mondays is for this, Tuesdays and Wednesdays are for this. But the way that I gave myself this project, and now I have to do it because I challenged myself to do it publicly, so I must win, is writing a book a month. These books are anywhere from 90 to 100,000 words, which means I need to make about 4,000 words a day if I want to be able to take days off at all, including weekends. And so in order to get 4,000 words a day, if I were to shut Monday off, I'd be splitting my words up between the next days. And it's already sometimes tricky enough to just get one chapter done. If I start adding a chapter and a half, I may completely fall off the wagon. So what works better for me generally is, I know I've talked about time blocking before, but it's like, if I can set aside the time and then I have a break in between, so I've got time to switch my mind over to the next thing. If I have a business day, I can switch between all the little tasks. I can be like, okay, email thing, marketing thing, whatever, because it's business stuff. And it's like, you know, tunnel vision on the business stuff. But if it's a writing day, or if it's an illustration day, or whatever it is, bouncing back and forth between those things, no matter how they're prioritized in my head, like I can know what is an important thing. I still can't get myself to do it well. And if I do try to switch over, I find like my emails sound like poo. I forget words. I junk things up. Like for some reason, my ability to respond in the way that I have expected of myself just kind of tanks. And then here's the worst part. And y'all, if you're in the audience today, tell me if this happens to you. And then if I have avoided the thing because I know I'm not going to do a good job at the thing, the guilt of having avoided the thing makes me not want to do the thing more. And then the thing sits in the background like a big monster that's like, you still haven't done the thing. And I'm like, no, I'm not ever going to do the thing. And my husband's like, why haven't you done the thing? You just need to do it. All you have to do is do what you say you're going to do. And I'm like, no. Yes. It's true. I will. And my husband's like, he's like, did you call the dentist for the kids? You said you were going to do it. I know. Are you still going to do it? Yeah. It's like, I don't know why. I don't know why. Even though I know I need to and I know I should, I can't until there's a deadline, right? Like, oh no, your kid's tooth is going to fall out. And then I'm like, shit, I can get everything done. Like, oh no, something's going to happen. And I'm like, nah. If it's not life or death, I don't know. I got nothing.
Sounds like you need to create some Atomic Habits, Nicole. On sale at Amazon. I think what you're saying, it resonates with me so much, right? I've got my lists, right? I always have my lists. And one thing I need to do is get my passport renewed, right? In case I want to travel. Well, that's been sitting there at the top of that list now. Long time. I've gone to the passport site probably 6 or 7 times. I know that I can expedite it. I know it's just a form I need to fill out. Probably take me 20 minutes. 3-4 weeks. It's been on the top of this. I could get it done by the end of this call, and I'm not going to do it. So, yeah, it's just.
It took me a year to get my expired driver's license renewed.
See, it's a common human trait. And Becca just laughs at both of us in her organized madness.
Because I'm one of you. I am. And honestly, like all I can think about, like a lot of this is just, are we all suffering from ADHD? Do we all have ADHD paralysis? Is that the problem? I want more research into the correlation between ADHD and artists. Like, someone give it to me.
And anxiety. Because I'm pretty sure I know that those things are comorbid. So David's saying, I go to therapy for things I avoid and will spend months talking about them. And when I finally handle it, it's never as bad as I imagine it to be. And it's true. And like, we know that in advance, right? Like, if I just call the client and let them know what's going on, it's going to be over. It's going to be fine. They're probably going to totally understand. Even though you know that, even though you know the end result's probably going to be fine, you still can't force yourself to do it. And like, I will absolutely go through time periods where I'm getting a lot of shit done. And I have lists everywhere with like, literally, I have lists everywhere. That's just one. There's one there and there, plus all my Google stuff and my notebooks. And there's days when I'm like, got that done. I got that done. Or like a month down the road, I'll look back at a list I forgot and be like, I did all that stuff. But still.
I got a question on the list thing, right? And it just so happened that when you lifted your whiteboard, I saw something that said, it might've said like FB post, right? Facebook post, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so have something like that. And I've got lists with all sorts of shit like that on it. And it's that general, like, you just kind of have to do this. When you do something general, when you write something general like that, passport renewal, right? Instead of listing out, write one Facebook post on this topic, right? And getting hyper specific with the task. When it's left as general and a little bit larger, do you have a harder time doing it?
So this list is literally so this is not a great list to use as an example. I grabbed it because it was there, but this list is like, what do I have in place for book marketing? What do I still need in place for book marketing? So I don't have to be hyper specific with those things, because like
Gotcha.
having a Facebook page for book marketing is just one of the things that you do.
Gotcha.
But I break when I am in a good flow with that stuff, I break it up using a Kanban chart. So I have my to do, my doing, and my done. And those things are specific tasks that fall under bigger tasks. So like book marketing is one big task. And everything under that is like set up this page, put this post on this thing, add this to this. And so like those specific tasks are small and specific under the bigger umbrella of like the big thing that needs to be done. So usually that's how I set it up. I just don't seem to be able to switch between writing brain and doing task brain. It's like once the writing is done for the day, everything that's in here just deflates like a flan in a cupboard.
Gotcha.
And my ability to do all the other stuff I know I should be doing, nope, just falls out the window.
What about an accountability buddy?
I have like 5 of those.
But like, how do we make it work?
It's not the capability. Like, it's not like there's time left in the day. It's not like I don't have the energy. I just don't. It's like all my executive function is gone now. And I don't like, I can just sit around and have no brain because there isn't anything left. It's like saying, I ran my car out of gas. How come I can't still make it to the store? Well, what if somebody told you to go to the store? There's no gas in the car. But what if it was on the list to go to the store? There's no gas in the car to go to the store with. So like, that's how it feels anyway. And I could completely be like over like blowing it up or, you know, whatever, making it worse than it is. But that's how it feels. It's like when I try to bring up the things that I need to do, my ability for recall is shit. And if I look at my lists, I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. When I haven't done that, if I were to get up and be like, today's a business day, then I would just be getting stuff done. And then at the end of that day, if somebody were to be like, do you need to sit down and write something? I would be like, who? Yeah, it just doesn't seem to be able to switch back and forth. Oh, God. Someone siphoned your gas when you weren't looking.
Now,
I mean, that's like a qualifiable like aspect of the human brain, right? Like we have difficulty with that. And that's why like literally anyone, when you're constantly replying to your email and having a conversation with someone and trying to like, you know, do whatever it is that you're actually doing for work. And then like, no, I don't think there's anyone who really does that with 100% like, I forgot how to speak English. Like, you know, anyone who can do everything very well while multitasking to that degree. Like, so it is important to make those, to allow that deviation for yourself, right? Like to like, be like, okay, I'm not going to be able to think about anything else. Take advantage of that. I don't think that's a necessarily bad thing because it allows you to do better writing. It allows you to do better, boring business tasks. Yeah.
That's a fair point. That's why presidents wear the same clothes every day and have people pick out their food for them like that. So that, so they don't
Only so
mess
many
with their
spoons, right?
decision fatigue. Yeah.
Mommy, I found a little cake.
oh, good Lord, roadkill. I think, well, it's a Bjorky. I figured it might be. So I think, you know, the myth of multitasking is a big one, right? That we think we can get our brain to do all these different things at one time. You know, the super guy or girl that's on their phone and they're talking and they're listening and they're doing all this stuff, right? It's impossible for a brain to focus on more than one thing at a time. So it's where we're choosing to put our time. I've never known anybody that's one of those multitaskers to have periods of deep focus. I know a lot of artists that have a lot of deep focus and struggle with the multitask. So I guess it's kind of like, you know, choose your adventure, right? Which type of person do you really want to be? Because if you are doing the multitasking thing, kind of like I try to do, I need to make decisions quickly and just get through it. I can't go over and over and over the decision. Oh, get passport. I can't, do that over and over and over because nothing will ever get done. But I don't allow myself to do the deep focus stuff either. So I just kind of float around in my like ADHD inner tube and just kind of look at all the pretty stuff that needs to happen and never actually get to any of it. But I look really busy and it looks like I'm successful, but I'm just kind of doing this shell game of tasks all over the place.
So, I mean, isn't this something we've kind of trained ourselves to do, though? Like, this is like, especially in smartphone era, right? And I feel like there's some like psychological or like scientific term for this, but like you see it in like movie media, right? Like older movies, like kids now, they'll like go watch a movie, early old school black and white movie, maybe one without any sound, and they will think it's really boring, because it doesn't have the same mental effect and the constant stimulation that you get with modern day movies. And you have that same kind of impact on your brain when you're constantly exposed to nonstop stimulation. Like if you're constantly on your phone and you see that you got Facebook notifications and you got to check those, and then you got a new email and then you got to check that. And then maybe you're going to doom scroll a little bit because you want to laugh a little bit at some memes. And so you go through 500 memes, and then like you need that constant stimulation. And we've all sort of fallen into that trap. And I think it, like, to get out of it, it takes very, very intentional retraining. And it's not like we're going to just like, okay, I'm going to do this and now I'm going to feel better about it. You're going to feel antsy. You're going to feel like you need to check your email, or you need to go think about something else. So you got to think about the writing, but then you also know that you're not, and then you're distracted and you're not getting anything done, and you're having that like loop cycle that Matt's talking about. Like, I think it's something that really takes like an intentional mental workout to break out of, because everyone else is doing the same thing and we think that's what we're supposed to be doing, and it's not actually really helping anyone.
I saw this firsthand when I was at the Portrait Master a couple of weeks ago. Whenever I'm at a conference or wherever I'm around people of like mind, I forget about everything else. Put it all to the side. I don't answer texts. I don't answer emails. I don't check calendars. I stay present and I try to be with the people that I'm with. That's hyper focus. That means a lot to me. It's a big priority for me. It's when I change my environment and I'm not around that I let all this stuff overwhelm me, right? So how can I, and I'm kind of thinking out loud here, how can I maintain that feeling of not total avoidance of absolutely everything I need to do, but how do I find that balance of deep focus versus, the stuff that needs to be done in a way that I don't feel this constant lag of, ball and chain of this task list that's a mile long. And is there a way to find that balance outside of hiring a shit ton of people to do all the stuff that you don't want to do? I'll put that out there. That's kind of my answer. But
is there something like really dramatic you could do to do that?
Yeah, that allows me to feel good without throwing up constantly about lack of getting things done or making money. I mean,
like even like on a small scale, right? Like I don't do this now, but like before I had 800 children whose schedules I had to attend to, I made a big point of like going out to work at a coffee shop. And admittedly, I would hate to edit photos on a laptop these days, but it was like, I'm going here. These are the hours they're open. This is the hour and the time and the space that I have to like do my work today. And I cannot allow anything to, impede that. So it was this action of like, I'm leaving my house, I'm leaving the distraction, I'm leaving all the bullshit, and I'm going here to do my work, and then I'm going to leave, and then I'm going to do whatever else I want. Like, or who J.K. Rowling, I think, did this too, like, except on a much, more dramatic I'm rich scale, where she like rented out a hotel like to finish her whatever last book. But I mean, if you can do something like so goddamn dramatic, like go to a conference to hyper focus, like what is something you could do to create that same effect if you know that it works on you?
It's a really good question. I find like I try to do that at my studio. I'm going into the studio and I'm only going to do studio work and shoots and editing, and that's it. Go home, cruise Amazon at home, right? So use the environment for a specific purpose. I find that when I'm in motion on the road, traveling, when I'm out of my normal environment, that's when I'm probably most in flow. So if I were to, let's say, buy a van and drive across country, right? Or when I do drive all over the country, I'm not answering texts. I'm not doing emails, right? I might be on the phone, but I'm not doing all these little things. And I feel better about it. And the business doesn't suffer and my work doesn't suffer. It's just I've taken that radical approach to changing the environment and things that I'm allowed to do and not allowed to do. I've tried to go to coffee shops. I've tried to go to other places and get this stuff done. And I never feel like I get in the flow. Get a couple of things done, but it's not that flow that I think, Nicole, you're talking about in terms of you get all in on that and then you can't get the other stuff done. So it's really interesting. I think for me personally, regardless of if I'm in flow or not, environment plays a huge part in how I'm able to concentrate and what I allow myself to focus on. Working at home now, having reverted back to working at home, I'm finding that this ain't the place that I need to get things done because I've got dogs and deliveries and all the stuff. So I think environment for me is probably the major point in getting unstuck like this. And I don't know necessarily how to change it.
You know,
Besides changing the environment.
I think you guys both brought up something that made me maybe kind of have a little bit of a realization, something that I knew but hadn't connected to this particular problem. And that is that I am constantly searching for the quiet. So I have an inner narrator, right? She never shuts up. Not only can she narrate, she can sing in the background too, like whatever song happens to be stuck in my head. So being inside my head sounds like, man, there's so much dog hair on the stairs. I better vacuum this floor. Dun, 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 dun. Oh man, if I don't pick up my desk soon, I'm not even going to be able to work on that. Was that a kid? That was probably a kid. Oh, the delivery guys. Yeah. Like that's the sound of living in my head. And one of the things I'm constantly searching for, and maybe why I spend so much effort looking for those moments of like deep focus and flow state, is that that's the only time all of this quiets down. And I don't feel like I'm in a tumble dryer, just rolling over and over with all my thoughts and worries and songs and ideas and everything else like in my head. And so I'm constantly trying to get that. And when I have opportunities to have that in deep stuff, like making things or writing or whatever, everything else goes away. When I'm doing business tasks, it's definitely busy stuff. It's like, okay, got that done. Need to do this. Got to grab this. Switch over from email mind to responding to text mind. Okay, got to send out write my newsletter, all that stuff. That's like a constant, like, jumble of activity. Whereas I'm always looking for quieter stuff in here. And when I can find that, going from that to the loudness again seems untenable. Like going from that feeling of peace and like just flowing and getting it all out and writing it and feeling good about it to like, now it's time to do all of that other stuff. It's like opening the floodgates back up. And maybe by the time I've exorcised the demons by using all of that energy, it's not really internally desirable to go back into the noise again, if that makes any sense at all.
So you like to hide in the quiet?
I need my head to be quiet. I can have noise happening around me, but my house is relatively quiet. Like my kids were never the kids who were like thumping up and down the stairs and throwing things and being loud and crashing and breaking and dirty and messes like that. I had my kids 5 years apart, right? So by the time my oldest one was 5, like he could do things for himself. So having a baby was relatively quiet. So we kind of have kept it very low key in the house. My house is a pretty quiet place in general, unless we're like watching a movie or listening to music or whatever. But like, I had to cultivate that for myself, that sense of peace. And then being able to make art or write a book or whatever, that is my escape from everything that's always going on inside my head. So I think I will always default to that if I can. Like if I can put off getting a task in order to make a thing, I feel a lot better making a thing than doing a task, even if doing the task makes me feel productive. And it's weird to me that people will look at me and they're like, you get so much stuff done. And I'm like, you have no idea how many things I'm not doing or doing badly. And that does come back to bite me later on because I can only sit through things I find boring for so long before my brain shuts off. I'm mumbling at this
You're
point.
not mumbling. I'm watching Becca hug that rabbit closer and closer. No, I think you're like I said a few minutes ago. What you're saying is so resonant to so many people, right? And I think Becca, you nailed it. As I think back through kind of my corporate career, and back at Motorola Sidekick days, right? You'd have something come through. Yeah, I'm that old. So you'd have something come through, and like you'd send one text a day, like, "Ooh, I got a message. Blah 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 blah. Let me just take care of this." But now we're so used to giving up our time and being programmed to give up our time in so many different areas that all of that is being stolen from us. Our ability to focus is being stolen from us. And it's just one more thing. I happen to be on TikTok, doom scrolling, 3 a.m., and I see this thing going, "Oh, you need TikTok now." As if TikToks weren't enough. You need TikToks now. You've got to be creating all the time. Everything is content. Everything is content, right? And I just can't handle it anymore. Cat, save me.
Matt, you just said something I think is super profound, and I'm going to repeat it really quickly.
Okay.
You said we're expected to give up our time, and we're expected to be available. And the way that everything has been built right now, if somebody messages you and you leave it on scene for a while, that eats at you, right? Like they're going to know, they know I saw it and I didn't respond. Or like the guilt of like, I should say something. I should respond to them. They messaged me. It's been like 12 minutes and I haven't said anything back yet.
Sorry for the delay.
Exactly.
It's been 6 minutes.
Like we're just expected to be available always and to give always and to give up our time always. And like, I had thought this morning too, one of the things that I do well is I mute a lot of stuff. So I mute a lot of things so it doesn't distract me. But here's the thing, when everybody else is like talking about stuff and like Becca, you've seen this happen. I show back up like when it's time that I can talk to people, and now they have inside jokes and they have all these things that they've talked about. And I'm like, I don't have any friends because everybody does stuff without me. It's like either miss out, right? Like the FOMO happens or the productivity happens, and it doesn't feel like there's a great balance. But I think that that's also kind of part of the system that has happened is like you have to be everywhere for everyone all at once. And if you don't, then people start to forget about you. And as people who have to make a living by bringing folks in, if you're not constantly bringing folks in, all of a sudden you slip away in the algorithm and you start to fall off. And it's like, where's the balance here? Which is why I keep feeling like hiring somebody may be my very best bet to be able to do that, because I can let them keep me like algorithmically interesting while I maintain some barrier between myself and everything else. And that feels, and I'm sure that it's not, but it feels like the only way, because otherwise I'm just going to continue slowly sliding into the hole. But I could be wrong. If somebody is doing it successfully, I want to know.
Welcome to my life. By the way, I'm a half an hour late.
Nobody noticed. It's like you were here the whole time. Yes, it's super frustrating. So, what is the answer? I mean, I think we've talked about some of that stuff already. Some of it is just muting everything and giving yourself time to respond, right? I'm not allowed to respond to anybody until this time. Like that's my cutoff date. And I'm going to let, like, I was thinking about making this Facebook post and I probably should, but I just need to make an announcement to people. I'm drafting novels right now. I'm not going to be as easily available. Don't expect to hear from me or get a response from me until, like, if I can't concentrate, I can't get stuff done. That's literally why writers disappear into sheds in the woods. But like, I think that that's going to have to be a necessity. I respond to messages after 4 or something, right? Like I respond to emails on Tuesdays. Like
I mean,
Yeah,
you
I
see
mean-
this. People can put this stuff on their website. Like they don't have a contact page. They have a page that says "Don't contact me" or like "Talk to my assistant," and they will tell me whether or not they think that your email is interesting enough for me to look at. Have a good day. But what's interesting so far is I feel like both Nicole and Matt, you guys have identified both problems and solutions already over the last like 45 minutes. Like you guys have kind of expressed like this is the thing that I have to do, but then you're
It's
Well, no
way
one-
easier to talk about it 7 or 8 times than it is to actually solve the problem. Like-
well, yes.
That's what we're here talking about. No,
That's very true. That's
no,
very
you're
true.
no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think most of us know the techniques and we know the things that we have to do. It's the struggle to actually do it, right? And so this is something I know for me in my time management. I was complaining to someone earlier today about my time management. I was complaining to them while I was avoiding doing the thing that I was supposed to be doing, right? So I get the irony of all of this. So, I was talking about my time management and how I give these things away. And I think in the moment, I'm always thinking it's 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes, but it's the accumulation of all those 5 minutes that makes my entire day disappear. And I don't think about it like that. So instead of time blocking and saying, between noon and 1, I'm going to do all my communications. It never really happens that way. So, but you're right. We have presented ourselves with the solutions, and it'll be interesting to see if by this time next week I'm in a different environment. I think one of the things you said, Nicole, that was really interesting is, I should put something out so that people know. No one gives a shit. Just don't respond. Just don't do it. And this again is this feeling of expectation that we need to tell everybody what we're doing all the time so we can justify not giving a shit about their email that they sent us. Right. And I'm only saying this in half jest because there's so much stuff that comes through that I make important, but doesn't need to be important. So, we're constantly thinking that we're the most important person in everybody's life. No one's thinking about us.
I definitely
So-
have oldest daughter syndrome for sure.
Oh.
Like I must care for and manage everybody around me all the time so they can be okay. So we can all be okay, like emotionally stable.
Now, so on Matt's point though, like if we think about like our own behaviors, right? If you really need someone's attention and you send them a singular email and they don't respond, if it's important, like you'll probably reach out to them again, right? And that's probably what people will do with us too. Like if you don't respond to their first email in the first 5 hours, like maybe they send you a follow-up or maybe they give you a phone call. Like if it's important enough, they will come to you.
Yeah, phone call's a thing. If your phone is ringing, someone wants your attention, right? If somebody's emailing me, like they know it could be tomorrow before I get there. I try to have like a 24-hour turnaround, for client communication, that kind of thing. But I don't think anybody's expecting me to be like, oh my God, I must respond to this right away. But we all sit in this space where we're just like squirrels on a fucking tree branch. No, stop it. Stop it. And if you know what the solution is, then determine what the steps are to create the solution, because that's really where we get bogged down. Is we can talk about it 7 or 8 times, but we know that the solution is actually going to take some heavy lifting on the front end to accomplish. So we avoid that by talking about all the time we don't have.
We don't like the heavy lifting, cat.
Nobody
lifting.
likes the heavy lifting.
I think some of the frustration, and you guys tell me if you have experienced this at all, but some of the frustration is knowing what the answer is, having tried the answer, not doing it long enough to stick with it, feeling like you failed at it, and then just not wanting to try again so you don't have to feel like you failed at it again.
Mhm.
Welcome to the fitness industry.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's how I feel about actual heavy lifting a lot.
No, one of the biggest questions I'm asked often is about associate photographers. And I'm on like my 5th iteration of associates. Like the reason I was late, I was on a mentee call and they're wanting to implement, associates in the new year. And like, it's not something that's just one and done. Like you're going to go through multiple training processes before you figure out what works for you and your system and your workflow. So you can plan on probably like 6 months before somebody's really up at full power. And then even then, once they're up there, it's like, I don't really like the way they do this. Does that fit? Is that in alignment? Like all of the questions. And then guess what? You start over, right? Like all of these things, you can stumble and fail like 47 ways to Sunday, but you still have to get back up again and do the thing, because failure is what gets you there. So just because you did it before and it didn't work doesn't mean it's never going to. It just means like, now I know more. Now I know better.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things is probably a good idea for us to keep in mind is we've talked about this before, but we make up stories about other people in our head. So we see Kat do stuff and we're like, she's a bad boss bitch doing stuff. She's always getting stuff done. But we don't know Kat's day-to-day. We don't know how much she's setting aside or how she's prioritizing or how she's saying, okay, I'm going to let that go. I can focus on this for now and come back to that later. Like people have said to me lots of times, I don't know how you get so much stuff done, but they don't see the lists of shit that didn't get done or the time I didn't spend or the whatever. So like we have to be really careful too, I think, about making up what we think other people are doing and then assuming that because we don't match what we've imagined that they do, that we're failing. Because you're making up unrealistic standards about things you don't know and then measuring yourself against those standards and being like, how come I can't be at the imaginary standard that doesn't exist? Something is wrong with me. When the whole time really nobody was there in the first place. You just made it up. Like that's what it should be. You just made that up in your head. And like, I've talked to Pratik about this and he's like, I hire people to do stuff for me. Like, what? This isn't that confusing. Like I bring people in to do things. And because then I can do more stuff. If there's people here doing stuff, then we can make more things. And I'm like, yeah, but you're still probably really productive in it. Like I can't let it go because that way I can justify why I can't reach there because you're superhuman and I'm not.
Well, and that's why comparison is the thief of joy, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're making all of these assumptions about other people, their motivations, what their calendar looks like, how much they've accomplished. Oh, that light looks terrific. Like all of the things when really like, y'all, we just out here running a fucking marathon.
And I think, one of the other things I've been thinking about while we're here is the expectation that we have to do things within a certain time frame. And like there's been this ever increasing speed of productivity that we're being held to, whether they're fake standards or whether they're real or whatnot. But everything that I've ever done, whether it's photography or corporate stuff or gun training, whatever it is, whenever I slow down and take my time, I produce better work, right? And when I'm rushing through all of these tasks or trying to blow through a shoot or do whatever, trying to just knock something out real quick, that's my favorite saying, I'm just going to knock this out real quick. No, it never is quick. And it's always better quality when I go slow, right? So Nicole and I were just doing some voiceover stuff. And she's like, slow down, bro. And I'm like, all right. And it winds up coming out so much better. So I know that for a lot of us, we're trying to do things so quickly to get more done, produce more, faster. And I know for me, it affects the quality of the work. So when I'm able to slow down, calm the mind a little bit, it's easier for me to get right into flow. But when I feel like I've just got to get X amount of things done by the end of the day, I feel rushed and I never feel like I'm doing things the way that they should be done. Yes.
Every day except for Wednesday.
Wednesdays are tough days.
Well, as we shoot toward the end of the hour, I think this was a kind of a really great thing to talk about, in part because it seems like such a taboo thing, because everybody that you learn from or everybody that has a platform is always talking about, getting their stuff done. And now they're doing this and they're doing big things. And you see all the cool things and you're like, man, look at them go. It's so good. It's so awesome. And it's kind of taboo to show up and be like, I'm a fucking mess. Like I mess up stuff all the time. I fall apart. I don't do things. But guess what? I mean, I'm still going. I'm still making it. I'm still getting stuff done. I still have paying clients. I'm still, I'm still doing stuff. Just because I'm not, whatever imaginary standard I have built, or maybe you have built for me, I'm not whatever you think that is, right? Just like the people that I admire are not what I think they are. And the people, so we have to be careful about that and be willing, I think, to have conversations like this ones where we can be like, hey, did really cool stuff, also failed miserably, did both. I'm a functional mess. And it's okay if you are too, because you can still get shit done and have successful things, even if you're sometimes or half the time.
It's important, I think, to have these conversations, because for me, I know it gives me a frame of reference. One, that I'm not the only idiot out there, right? Everybody struggles with this. Two, I don't know at what speed I'm going, right? And this is kind of the comparison thing that Kat was talking about a minute ago, is like when I compare what I'm seeing to other people doing, oh my God, that's the cutest thing I've ever seen. I feel like I need to pick up something fluffy. Karma. I know that when, Kat, you're going to do it too? You're going to get, okay. But when I totally lost my train of thought because of pugs. Point being, when we hold ourselves to other people's standards, or we're comparing ourselves or whatnot, having that frame of reference, I know, is important to me, so that I can at least measure, okay, this is getting out of hand now. It gives me the opportunity to say, oh yeah, you know what? I'm not doing so bad. All right, I guess I'm redlining it. Got to scale it back a little bit, because these people that are doing less, way happier than I am. So, I think while comparison is definitely, like Kat said, the thief of joy, from the standpoint of giving me a level set of what's normal versus where I'm at, it's at least a system of like, okay, I'm way overboard. I really do need to scale it back. Or, well, I could really step up my game with not a whole lot of effort. So yeah, that comparison thing is a real tricky spot for me, because being alone in the woods, I don't have a frame of reference for a lot of stuff. So having that and hearing from you guys that, there's a certain parallel in suffering, I appreciate that. Wait, rock on.
I think you're absolutely right. And even if I think a lot of us do have baselines, but our baselines are off. Our baselines are built by the things we see on social media, right? And the things other people say about what they're doing, and the stories we make up about what they're doing. And so we have this unrealistic expectation that we've already built based on what we believe about what other people say. And so we don't have a lot of people doing this and saying yes, I'm also a mess, doing cool stuff, making cool things, also a mess. So maybe if we have conversations like this more, it'll just be a lot more comfortable for many more people to go hey, look, there's somebody I admire. They're doing things that are cool. They're also a mess. Maybe that means despite my fuck ups and my whatever, I can also still be successful. I support this.
I know I've told Olga my first impression of her. I don't know if I've told you guys this. So my first interaction or acknowledgement of Olga was in some Portland photographer group, and someone was asking a very basic, how do I run my business sort of question, and Olga steps in with this very thorough paragraph. It's super professional, makes a lot of sense, really well spoken. She's got this beautiful, sexy, profile picture, and I'm just damn, this is head bitch in charge in Portland. What a badass. She's probably way too cool, way too professional, way too, high and mighty for me. And now I know the truth. And I appreciate you bullshitting all over social media, Olga, because you're fantastic. You're talented. You understand so many things. You're beautiful and you're hilarious and you're also a giant mess. And I love you. So, people are seeing that bullshitting. Even when we are, sometimes candid, people are reading these different things off of us and they're making up these own stories about us. And it's just a fascinating phenomenon. Even just asking people what was your first impression of me? Do you think I have my shit together? Do you think I don't have my shit together? I would be curious to know.
Everybody go to Becca's Facebook page.
I'm on it. on
Write
it.
down what your first impression was. Did she have her
No,
shit
not my
together?
Facebook page. Somewhere else. Anywhere but that.
In the Facebook group?
Yeah.
Might as well.
We
Shoot.
can all play what's our first impression? I'm down.
Why not? I mean,
Don't know if the ego's ready for that. Nope.
At least it pulls back the curtain, right? Like it really does reveal how much we infer and how much we assume and how much we, how much we make up. Because like that's the truth. Olga knows a lot of shit about a lot of shit. She's super smart person and she's so super capable. And also, if you're lucky enough, I should say, to hang out with Olga, nobody goofier or more irreverent that will make you laugh and completely destroy whatever ideas you had of like this tough person. You're like, but that's see, so David knows. She's totally the best. So like, but that just goes to show you like the ideas that we make of people and the standards we build and the assumptions that we make are never true, at least not in their wholeness, right? Like they're only ever true in part. So maybe the lesson at the end of the day is don't make so many assumptions because you make an ass out of you and umption, and then don't. It's from a movie. So Sam sounds better when Sam Jackson says it. But like those assumptions that you make, you try to live by them and then they destroy you. And you never had to do it in the first place because they didn't actually exist. You made them up. So learn what you can from what makes other people capable, but don't believe that has to be the standard for you. Find your own standard, make that.
And I'm going to turn this right back around on you, since you started this conversation about your big thing that you needed to get done. Apply that same context to yourself. Now, where do you sit?
Stop using logic on me. I disappear to the ether.
I do have one final thought, just to come back to that initial, like, Nicole struggling to shift the focus, Matt struggling to, do things, me having problems with both. I want to give you guys homework, and I want to see if using one of those theoretical big changes that we talked about does actually help. Because like Matt, you talked about your environment, and like Nicole, you straight up said like, I can't do this. It's not working, and you're continuing to do it. And that's my homework that I'm giving you guys. And I've been doing this for myself too. And I'll try to think of something more concrete to bring back next week. But like, what is a big change that we can do that's actually going to change something and change that story and make it work?
And it's not allowed to be make your bed.
No. I'm not going to do that anyway.
I'm just
Fine.
I'm gonna put that homework right under passport renewal when I get to it.
You said the environment helps. Go change the environment. One day.
Okay.
I want to see what
Fair
it
enough.
does.
I can do it.
All right. So let's extend that homework to our friends hanging out in the audience today. If you guys feel like you're stuck with something, make a change. Make a change somewhere. See how that throws you off. We've talked about habits a lot. Habits are super powerful. And if you've built habits into the spaces that you're in or into the way that you get things done, and those habits are not serving you in the long run, see where you can cut that habit off. Whether that's I don't make my tea until after 9, or I don't look at my phone until after I've already exercised, or, I brush my teeth with my left hand. Like, anything strange that can throw off those habits really can make a difference for the way that you think and approach your day and your creativity. Even if it's, and try this one if you've never done it before. When you get up in the morning, don't wear your pajamas out of your bedroom. Put on workout clothes before you leave your bedroom. Put on your socks and your tennis shoes. And you'll be surprised at some of the differences that makes in your day. At least for me, I eat healthier. I make better decisions during the day if I'm in workout clothes, because it feels like a mental shift into these are the clothes I wear when I'm being healthy. So
What if you sleep in your workout clothes?
It's a good question.
That's just being efficient, Kat. That's all that is. Overachiever.
nothing
I
if
can't
not
live to your standard.
Melissa said, y'all seem to have it enough together. You do make finding your own standards sound easy. Should I hire that out? Somebody
and
find me
here's the
somebody to
thing.
hire my standards.
Here's the thing. Like, yeah, you can totally hire that out, but look out. When I'm working with a photographer that either is new to like portrait or the SBE brand of portrait or whatever, and you know how like when you start into like especially in studio work, you get into that space where like you forget how to pose people, or the poses you were thinking of totally out the window, and you're just in the moment and you're firing like 100 of the same frame over and over and over and over again. Like the first stop, and this goes for everything. What one thing can you change? Like look at your situation, detach emotionally from it. What one thing can you change in that system, that workflow, that process? How when you calendar, when you get on Facebook, when you answer emails, like all of those things, what one thing can you change? And I think that's a really great way to look at the challenge that Becca brought up, right? Like, what can you do to shift and kind of jar your brain out of the habits that keep you stuck? Just one thing.
If you're unwilling to do that, if you're unwilling to change the thing, maybe recognize you don't want to change it that bad and be okay with letting it be what it is.
What is it, Matt? It's still a choice.
Matt's face.
I know.
I don't like when other people are right. I like when I'm right.
I mean, it's your saying.
You remember, I don't know if you guys remember this, when Jason came on one morning, way back in the day, Jason came on one morning and he's like, you just need to admit yourself that you don't want to do the work. And I was like, shut up. But it's true. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you have to be like, I like to complain about it, but I just don't want to do it that bad. Yeah. Something to think about. Anyway, we are past time today. Thank you so much for everybody who came and hung out with us today. Melissa and Claudia and David and Olga and Crystal and everybody who was here.
Bobby.
So and Bobby, yes. I always forget because it just says Facebook user. And Bobby, thank you guys for being here and hanging out and sharing your thoughts and asking questions and all that good stuff. Of course, you can come and join us in the Facebook group, the Artist Forge Facebook group. If you're not in there, I encourage you to join. If you're watching this on YouTube or somewhere, hang out with us. We will be back, of course, next Monday at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That is noon for the West Coast and 3 p.m. for the East Coast. We like having you. Come learn more about being successful disasters and artists and all the good things that accompany that. Now go get work done, or else. Go make something amazing. We'll see everybody next week. Bye.